The snow totals with this winter storm continue to look impressive, and I've got new update on the snow track, which has shifted southward, and other impacts here. Let's take a look at that National Weather Service hazards map. We've got winter weather advisories from parts of southeastern Missouri, set to expire soon, but through far northern parts of Tennessee, through parts of southwest, and then through central Kentucky. And then we've got winter weather advisories, but especially that stripe of winter storm warnings up there through east central Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, now including Long Island and New York City there in New York, southern parts of New York State, and then on over into Connecticut, Rhode Island, and parts of southern Massachusetts. We're also watching flooding through Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas, with a wind threat down there as well. We've got all the details on that in this video. If you want more videos, please hit that subscribe button to get me to my 3,000 subscriber goal. Now let's take a look at weather maps in the HRRR model here. Link to free trial of WeatherBell in the description. You can see we've got a lot of rainfall ongoing here over parts of Tennessee, northern Alabama with some storms into Georgia and the Carolinas as well. We've also got parts of southern Missouri have been seeing some snowfall today. Look at that. The video credit on your screen right now is from a YouTube user who sent me their little short there. And you can see the dogs looking like they were having fun there in that, minimal snowfall, but at least some decent accumulation of a few inches, looking like they were on the ground there in places like Joplin, which is where that video was taken. You can see as we go through the rest of this evening, we've got this little cluster of storms in eastern Alabama that at least deserves watching. I don't think it's going to go severe, but if it does, it could produce some gusty winds and maybe a brief spin up. Overall, though, we're really just starting to kind of turn our attention away from severe weather, as this event hasn't really performed in that regard. But what we are going to see this event perform in the regard of is not just this heavy rain that's going to be continuing here over parts of the Carolinas, as well as the mid-Atlantic and southern Ohio Valley as we head towards around, say, 10 p.m. this evening. Also watching some of these snow bands that are going to try and break on out here through west central Tennessee, parts of central Kentucky. Yeah, that's a new development out of this storm, as we're now seeing a little bit more of a southerly and wraparound track of this system. And again, you can see through parts of central Kentucky, this is going to be a pretty, short-lived but heavy burst of snow that's going to come in around, say, midnight tonight into our Tuesday morning. Again, very brief, but very heavy as it does come on down there. Then you can see where our real snow event starts, and it's a little bit further south than initially expected there. You can see places really in this zone I'm circling here from parts of West Virginia on up there and through southern Pennsylvania, yeah, now including places like Philadelphia, Trenton, New Jersey. It might start off as a little bit of rain there in places like Trenton, New Jersey and Long Island, but look at how it quickly turns over to snow as we get on the backside of that low pressure system a little bit quicker as it tracks further offshore. And it looks like this is going to be a pretty considerable snow event here in these areas that I'm hashing out. So from parts of even northern Maryland on through New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania, and on down and through New York City, Hartford, Connecticut, Bridgeport there in Connecticut, all these areas are getting on some heavy snow. And then we see a little bit of lake effect snow kind of wrap around the storm at the tail end. Now I really want to break down our snowfall totals using that HRRR model, because it's been the one that's kind of given us this southerly track to begin with. So let's kind of see what it's showing for those totals. Now, again, I think this is a little overdone there in places like Memphis getting an inch or two. And again, a lot of the snow that it's showing isn't necessarily actually going to stick, as temperatures are going to be a little bit above freezing as it falls tonight. Nonetheless, some spots through north central Tennessee and into parts of Kentucky. Again, notice it's not even in that zone where that winter weather advisory is, so it's worth watching kind of to see where it sets up. Some zones really just, if you live in northern Tennessee or parts of Kentucky, expect maybe a dusting to an inch or so, and maybe hope for higher amounts, but don't count on it. Again, that arrow I just drew is where the snow totals have been expected to be a foot plus. With weather, you can get changes like this, and now we're seeing these 10-inch totals through eastern Pennsylvania, 15-inch readings there into parts of New Jersey out of the HRRR, more 10 to 12-inch totals there through parts of southern Rhode Island and Connecticut on over there into the Cape Cod region. So really crazy to see how these totals are panning out. But look at these numbers. If you live in places like Philadelphia there through Trenton, New Jersey, we're looking at these totals now adding up close to a foot of snowfall. If we can get this to fall long enough and kind of verify what the ratio this is using, don't expect it to be quite as high as these ratios are, because this is a 10-to-1 ratio, and this is going to be a pretty heavy wet snow, which is typically closer to an 8-to-1 ratio, which means just 8 inches of snow from an inch worth of rainfall equivalent. But nonetheless, all the way through Long Island, New York here, look at these totals from New York City on over there through Massapequa and on down the Long Island area to Montauk. All these areas close to about a foot of snow, and Cape Cod getting in on a foot or just a little bit over that with this particular given model setup. And again, we have other models that we're going to look at here, and this isn't really a model, but this is actually going to be the National Digital Forecast Database here, which is generated there from the National Weather Service. Here's what you can kind of expect overall if you're looking at the average side of things of a lot of the different computer models. looking at about a half an inch to an inch or so, again, in this stripe I'm circling here of snowfall, and I think that's really a better estimate there than the HRRR was showing. Heavier bursts could get you closer to 2 inches there through parts of Kentucky and maybe eastern Kentucky, but don't be surprised if some isolated locations get closer to 3. And again, I think this does a really good job of showing us how heavy that snow is actually going to be here through parts of northern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, and southern New England. Will it be, up to a foot all the way on up there through parts of northern Massachusetts, north of Boston? Not sure about that, but I do think here in this area I have circled on your screen right now, that's our best chance for the swath of, those 6 to 12 inch totals, with the higher amounts on really through northern New Jersey, parts of Long Island, and southern New England there. And here's your chance of 6 inches of snowfall. This is brand new processed information here from the GEFS ensemble. This includes the GFS model and other members here. And you can see here where those totals are really expected to be in that category. Really, from Long Island all the way eastward through Cape Cod, you have at least a 60% chance of half a foot of snowfall. But even on there through places like Philadelphia, you got about a 40, 50, 60% shot. So it's pretty good all the way from Philadelphia on through Cape Cod there, especially right over Cape Cod for the heavy snow to verify. Now here's your forecast rainfall. Yeah, we've got to talk about the rainfall side of the storm. Again, remember those snow totals, by the way, they are still subject to change. But here's the rainfall. As I've filmed this video, we've got some heavy rainfall moving through parts of the southeast, and you can see as these totals continue adding on up out of this event, we will get heavier totals of what looks like rainfall on up there through parts in Kentucky, West Virginia, and on up there into the northeast. Through Kentucky, some of that will fall as rainfall and then turn over to snow, obviously. But this zone here that I just circled is where this is obviously going to be all rain. Still watching out for some flooding through parts of Georgia, the Carolinas, and then on up into Virginia and southern New Jersey as well, where it stays, that heavy rain. And in some cases, a very cold rain there towards the northern end of that circled area. Now, let's again look back at that National Weather Service hazards map. Not only do we have that flood watch continuing here through parts of Alabama, North Georgia, and the upstate of South Carolina, we've also got those tannish shades there from West Virginia and western parts of the state of Virginia down through North Carolina, and there are also ones here in South Carolina and Georgia. That is as a result of the wind gusts that are going to be coming on around behind this system. Some of those green shades on your screen, the key is at the top, around 35, 40, 45 mile per hour wind gusts here, so pushing through parts of southern Kentucky, central Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia this evening. By the time we go towards around the midnight hour, around 1 a.m., into our early Tuesday, look at those wind gusts, say 40, 45 miles per hour there through parts of Atlanta, Georgia, Greenville, South Carolina, Columbia, and South Carolina as well. Those continue heading east, and by the time we make our way towards the wake-up time frame here on your Tuesday morning, the early morning commute, highest wind gusts up there where we have the high wind warning in western North Carolina. Still got some stronger gusts pushing up the South Carolina and North Carolina coast of 30 to 40, and also some 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts close to that low pressure system there up near New Jersey and New York City. But notice how these stronger gusts closer to 50 plus, the wide expanse of them at least are going to stay well offshore, and we're just going to kind of see that 20 to 30 mile per hour push of those northwesterly winds kind of continue heading on in behind this system, and then eventually we kind of see the entirety of that system depart. And we're done talking about that storm, but what do we have next after that? Of course, again, the heavy snow shot through southern New England out of this one. We've continued to see those snow totals look like they're going to be further south. Here we go. We've got a new system by the time we make our way towards, say, Wednesday. This is as we go towards February 14th in the morning. Some snowfall exiting parts of Montana, Wyoming, and through the Dakotas. Notice that's going to continue heading eastward, dragging these blue lines a little bit further south. That's that jet stream there, the polar jet stream. And we will get a little bit of some snowfall through parts of Minnesota, say Iowa, on over into the Great Lakes as well. Looks like rain for Chicago and Indianapolis as of now. Also, at the same time, a new system moving through the Mountain West and Pacific Northwest. That looks like it could bring another little shot of snow later this week down through parts of the Central Plains as that jet stream dips further south there, so to speak. I mean, you can see through parts of Missouri, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, on over there into northwestern parts of Tennessee and into Kentucky as well, watching snowfall out of that one. And it looks like some cooler air will kind of wrap on in behind that particular system. And it could last a little while, but again, I don't really see any major systems coming to tap into that cold air. Here's that 6 to 10 day temperature probability outlook. Warmer than average over a lot of the southwest, and then especially along the west coast there. Cooler than average over the north central and the southeast, but notice there's no huge anomalies on this map. In fact, a lot of communities through parts of the central U.S. and mid-Atlantic really looking at close to average conditions according to these outlooks from the Climate Prediction Center. Look at that. Well above average precipitation stretching into the west and trying to translate east there in that 6 to 10 day range here in these graphics, by the way, from Pivotal Weather. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave comments below if you have any questions. And that is it for this one. Thanks so much for joining me here at One Nation Weather. That's it for this.